My mother always said you shouldn't control a man too tightly. Extremes beget the opposite. So when Ethan openly supported that young model, I neither cried nor made a scene. I simply asked him, would you leave me for her? He said no, then turned around and gave me a villa as compensation. Not long after, the young model was found to be pregnant. She came to me and said, Zoe wants an identity before she'll agree to carry the baby to term. We're getting a divorce for now. Wait until she gives birth. Then we'll remarry. After that, I waited a long time. I waited until he and that woman had a second child. I never managed to hear him say the words, let's remarry. But it didn't matter. At least, like him, I too had both a son and a daughter. I had just finished preparing baby food, ready to feed the children, when an unexpected message popped up. It was from Ethan, who I hadn't heard from in 3 years. He wrote, Summer, come back. Let's remarry. See you at the Civil Affairs Bureau tomorrow morning at 8. The sentence was ice cold. Yet, I felt as if I could see him looking down from on high, contempt and disdain written all over his face, just like when he filed for divorce 3 years ago. He came home holding a 3 months pregnant Zoe and casually said to me, Zoe wants me to give her a status before she'll agree to have the baby. We'll divorce for now. Once she gives birth, we'll remarry. He said he couldn't betray them, mother and son. So, I had to be the one to suffer. I opened my mouth, wanting to ask him why he could so easily abandon the 5 years we had. But just as I was about to speak, I remembered what my mother had said. She said, when a man has money, his heart easily wanders. But even if he has dozens or hundreds of women outside, as long as he keeps you in his heart, sometimes you can turn a blind eye. I nodded, offering no rebuttal. I only asked him one question. Do you still love me? My question seemed to trouble him. A flicker of displeasure passed through his eyes. And he answered in a low voice, Summer, we're both almost 30. There's no need to be so sentimental, always thinking about whether there's love. At that moment, it felt as if I had received the answer I wanted. And yet, not really. I didn't say another word. I packed my things efficiently. I left that home. The next day, we arranged to go to the Civil Affairs office. The instant we stepped out after completing the divorce papers, he gave me a brand new sports car. His expression was sharp, carrying a warning. Summer, behave yourself in the days ahead. Don't cause trouble for Zoe. When she gives birth, I'll contact you about remarrying. But if you don't behave, forget ever thinking about getting back together. Not far away, my mother's eyes were fixed on us. The words I wanted to say were stuck in my throat. I nodded awkwardly. I answered him, okay, I'll wait obediently for you to contact me. But what I wanted to say was, don't contact me anymore. Let's just break up like this. I didn't dare. I knew perfectly well that if I said that when we got home, my mother would cry, make a scene, and threaten to hang herself. It was like the night before the divorce. She cried until she was inconsolable. She struck me as she shouted, why is my life so bitter? I finally got you into a good family, and you don't even know how to keep a man's heart. How could I have given birth to such a useless thing like you now? They had gotten the answer they wanted. Satisfaction spread across their faces. Ethan was about to get in the car and leave when my mother hurried over from the roadside. She handed him a neatly wrapped gift box and in a sycophantic tone said, Son-in-law, these are eggs from the free-range hens I raise at home. Good for a pregnant woman. Take them back for her to eat. Try to have a big chubby baby boy. Ethan said nothing, but shot me a meaningful look laced with sarcasm and contempt. My face burned with shame. Instinctively, I grabbed her hand, pleading with her to stop. She snapped her hand away in annoyance and shouted, What are you doing? If she gives birth to a big chubby boy, won't you benefit, too? If you remarry her, that child will still be your son. What's wrong with me being nice to my grandson? Even now, I can't forget what she said. As Ethan left, he looked at me with that same weighty expression and said, Summer, sometimes you really ought to learn from your mother. Be more magnanimous and open-hearted. I listened to him. I sold the sports car and the villa he gave me through a second-hand dealer. Part of the money I used to buy a 3-bedroom apartment and a compact car suitable for a woman to drive. The rest I put into various investments. But sometimes when I see others with happy families, I envy them. So I told no one. I went abroad alone and gave birth to twins, a boy and a girl who share my blood. Right now, I watch the 2 well-behaved children in front of me eating their meal. I put down my phone and don't reply to his message. I thought that would make him understand I had no intention of remarrying. Unexpectedly, before long, my mother, as if she'd won the lottery, came rushing over to my house in high spirits. She came in and immediately began rifling through things. She didn't forget to ask me, "Tomorrow, you're remarrying your son-in-law. Why aren't you in a hurry to find the papers? Hurry up and get them out for me." Hearing that, it suddenly became clear to me. Ethan hadn't only told me about the remarriage, he told my mother, too. I didn't move. I looked at her calmly. "Mom, when he told you about remarrying, did you tell him I have 2 children?" My mother froze in the middle of searching for documents. She looked back at us, rolled her eyes with contempt, and pointed at my children. "They're fatherless bastards anyway. Just give them away. Do you really expect to bring them into the Fu family when you marry?" The first time I went abroad for a year, I came back with 2 children. She was so furious. She cried, threw a tantrum, and threatened to hang herself. She was terrified that Ethan would find out and refused to have me, insisting I send the 2 children away. I refused and quietly cut off her living allowance for 2 months. Only then did she behave, but I didn't expect that even now, she still hasn't given up on the idea of getting rid of my children. Watching my mother here, full of dreams about life in a wealthy family yet hurling cruel words at my children, I sighed, took out my phone, and photographed my children. In front of her, I sent the photos to Ethan and asked, "I have 2 children now. Can you accept that?" Ethan replied quickly, but it was just a single question mark. My mother saw the scene, and her eyes filled with rage. She kept shouting that I was crazy. How could I personally sever my path into a wealthy family? I ignored her, put down my phone, and tried to continue feeding him. Ethan, however, replied to the message at that moment. "Summer, are you mocking me for having 2 children? Didn't your mother already say my children are your children? Why would you post this kind of photo to provoke me?" Before I could reply, Ethan suddenly called. I didn't want to pick up. My mother, however, beat me to it and answered. Her face changed instantly. She squeezed her voice soft and said, "Oh, son-in-law, it's me." She hadn't finished when a childish voice came through on the other end. "You bad woman. My dad would never marry you. We have our own mom. I don't want you to be our mom, and you can't come to our house. Yes, none of us welcome you. If you dare show up, I'll beat you until you lose your teeth." Their voices sounded, and with them came a resigned, indulgent tone. "Stop it, little ones. Aunt Summer is a good person. She'll treat you like her own children." Ethan's steady voice came through the phone. Hearing that long-missed voice, I felt an inexplicable jolt all over. Suddenly, it all came back, the day my father cheated, brought his mistress to our home to make a scene, and tried to grab the valuables and leave. My mother, terrified by his ferociousness, trembled all over, and with no backbone, whispered, "Her son was supposed to go to that expensive private school. I listened to you and gave all the money to you. I really have no money left." Before she said that, I had no idea she had taken money to pay for the other woman's son to attend school. I trembled with anger, but I was afraid my father would hurt her. I stayed in front of her, protecting her. That day, my father never believed my mother had no money left. Waving a knife, he shouted that he would kill us. Yet, at the critical moment, my mother shoved me behind her and shielded me completely. Ethan also arrived in time with bodyguards and restrained my father, who had gone mad. Ethan used his family's influence to gather all kinds of evidence, and had my father sentenced to a full 8 years. On the night he learned he would face prison, Ethan, worried I might overthink things, deliberately came to my house to keep me company. He saw me silently crying over the judgment. He cradled me with aching concern, soothing me gently. "Summer, don't be afraid. I'm here. I'll never let anyone bully you again. From now on, I'll protect you properly. My mother cried too, saying through her sobs, Summer, your father is locked up. You're all I have left. For stepping up to protect you, will you please just behave and listen to your mother from now on? Her words completely stifled the question lodged in my throat. At the time, I wanted so badly to ask her why she gave the money to the mistress's son, why she lied that we had no money, and why she only gave me 100 yuan a month for living expenses. But I knew clearly what had happened was already done. No matter what answers I got, what had been lost could not be returned. I even naively thought someday I would have Ethan. He would be my strong pillar, helping me fill the gaps in my heart. But I never expected that by following my mother's advice, not prying into his private life, and giving him freedom, I would instead be met with a blade that stabbed me hard. At this moment, I heard Ethan beside me, patiently coaxing the children. A sudden weariness washed over me, and I said in a flat voice, Ethan, I'm not joking. I really have 2 children, and taking care of them already takes up all my time. I don't have time to be a nanny and look after your child, too. My mother, however, was so angry she sniffed and glared at me. Just as she was about to speak again, I reminded her, Mom, I remember your salon bill is due again. If you still can't tell right from wrong, I don't mind bearing the accusation of being an unfilial daughter again. She quieted down, not daring to say another word. She could only glare at me with disappointed fury. On the other end of the phone, Ethan sneered, Summer, what kind of joke are you playing? Don't forget the diagnosis the doctor gave you at the wedding. You can't have children. My test results showed nothing wrong. The problem was him. He had oligospermia. When I got the report, to protect his male pride, I lied and told him it was my issue. In the years we were married, I was always secretly tending to his health. Also, we could have a sweet, well-behaved baby. Later, he brought that woman home. He said he wanted to divorce me temporarily to give her an identity. I had meant to tell him that there was something wrong with his body, that he couldn't have children. But then I remembered what he and my mother had said. They both said I only needed to be a good Mrs. Fu, not to meddle in things that weren't my business. So, I put that thought aside. I don't know what came over him, but he softened and in a low voice said, All right, Summer. I know you've been hoping for us to remarry. It's my fault for making you wait 3 years. Once we get our marriage certificate, I promise you will have a lively wedding just like before. No matter how lively it was, it could never go back to the way it was. I didn't reply. I hung up the phone. Summer, how can you be so ungrateful? Do you even know how many people are eyeing the position of Mrs. Fu? My mother scolded me, frustrated with my lack of backbone. I lifted my eyes coolly and looked at her without blinking. I said in a flat voice, Mom, if you can't sit still, then go find a job yourself. I cancelled the family payments in front of her. My mother panicked at once and hurriedly promised she would never meddle in my affairs again. I didn't take it to heart. The next day, I didn't show up for the appointment either. Ethan called me several times and I didn't pick up. Maybe he felt his pride had been wounded. After a few attempts, he stopped calling until a week later. I had just finished my postpartum yoga class and stepped outside when I saw Ethan and Zoe entangled in the middle of the street. Zoe wore a plain t-shirt and jeans. Her ponytail had come loose, half of it hanging down. It covered half her face, which was worn out and tired, marked by years of hardship. Ethan, are you divorcing me just so you can remarry that summer? Don't forget I gave you a son and a daughter. How can you just abandon me like this? Ethan met her accusations with impatience, angrily shaking her hand off. His eyes were full of disdain as he said, Enough. Look at you now. What's the difference between you and a crazy woman? Besides, Summer and I truly loved each other. If you hadn't cheapened yourself by crawling into my bed and gotten pregnant with my child, how could I possibly have divorced her and married you? Ethan, do you think divorcing me means you can remarry Summer? Let me tell you, no woman will accept a man who betrayed her a second time. Who do you think you are? Some golden ticket she can't live without. Those words cut Ethan to the quick. He had noticed it, too. I no longer obeyed him unquestioningly the way I used to. That day, he waited at the Civil Affairs office from 8 o'clock in the morning until 8 at night, 12 whole hours. He never caught a glimpse of me. He wanted to find me, but he couldn't bring himself to stoop that low. Ethan, humiliated and furious, shoved Zoe's hand off his arm. He was about to slap her when his eyes caught sight of me. A flash of unmistakable envy and a joy like finding something lost flickered across his face. Ethan lowered his raised hand just like when we were young. Whenever he saw me, he would carefully smooth his clothes, present himself at his best. Then he smiled and hurried over to me. "Summer, long time no see. Did you come looking for me?" His voice trembled with delight. Compared to his happiness, I felt utterly calm. It had been a long time. He thought I was complaining about his lack of contact over the past 3 years and hastily explained, "Summer, I meant to come find you before. It's just that." He then noticed Zoe standing there, glaring at me fiercely. Through gritted teeth, he said, "It's all that woman's fault. She had the baby just a year ago, drugged me, got pregnant again, and that's why I couldn't come to you in time. Summer, I'm already divorced from her now. Come back. I miss you so much." The way he looked at me no longer held the scorn and disgust of 3 years ago. Instead, it carried the eager, ardent love of our youth. Zoe saw the scene. Malice bloomed plainly in her eyes. She strode toward us and sneered. "Miss Summer, how desperate are you to not get married that you've been coveting someone else's husband for 3 whole years? Do you know we have a son and a daughter now? Both old enough to speak. Or is it that you can't have children of your own? So you like playing stepmother to someone else?" "Shut up." Before I could say anything, anger flickered across Ethan's face and he snapped at her. "You're the homewrecker here. Who gave you the right to talk about her like that? When it comes to shamelessness, who can top you?" Zoe's complexion shifted from pale to sallow under his words. I glanced at him coolly. 3 years ago, when he asked me for a divorce, he had held Zoe tightly, sheltering her behind him as if afraid I might harm her. When Zoe cried that she was willing to abort the baby and leave, he had hugged her anxiously, soothing her agitated emotions. He told her gently, "I want you and the child. With me here, no one will hurt you. I'll divorce her and give you a happy home." He spoke to her and to me in completely different ways. To me, he said that once the child was born, he would remarry me. To her, he said, "I will give you a happy home." His heart was big and small at once. Small and big. He could accommodate 2 people at the same time, but he could not love one person wholeheartedly. Enough. Stop arguing. My child is still at home waiting for me. I won't stick around. I stepped back calmly, and after saying it, I was ready to leave. When Ethan heard that, he thought I was making an excuse to get away. He actually smiled and said to me, "Then I'll go back with you so I can see this child you keep talking about." He emphasized the word child heavily, with a hint of mockery. I couldn't understand. Were my words really that untrustworthy? I looked at him and said lightly, "My child is shy around strangers. Can't stand outsiders. Next time when I'm free." "Summer, stop it. I know you don't really have any kids. I also know you're upset I have 2 children, but don't worry. I've already explained it to them. From now on, they'll only have you as their mother." Ethan spoke to me in a conciliatory tone. "Or if you think you can't form feelings for them because you didn't raise them, we can adopt another newborn. Treat her like our own. Raise her from infancy." Hearing that, I couldn't help but laugh out loud. I don't care for the child I gave birth to. Why on earth should I go raise someone else's? I opened my mouth, about to speak. A staff member who had come out of the mother and baby shop to take out the trash saw me. Her eyes lit up and she hurried over. "Miss Summer, will Debio and Sharaubao come to swim this weekend? We'll get everything ready in advance." "Yes, they will. I might be a bit busy, so I'll have a friend bring the 2 little ones over." I smiled faintly in reply. Ethan's face, however, went pale. He stared at me in utter disbelief. What? Deo and Sharaubao." The clerk looked puzzled and said, "Miss Summer's children, a son and a daughter, so adorable. I've never seen such cute little ones." Her words struck him like a thunderclap, hitting him hard. Ethan trembled, incredulous. You really have a child? How old? Is it mine? He fired off several questions in a row. His voice grew more and more unsteady, and there was a visible tremor of excitement. He seemed to think I must have been pregnant with his child when we divorced. The shop clerk's confusion deepened when she heard that. My child's father is of mixed Chinese and British descent. They all inherited their father's blue eyes. Ethan is purely Chinese. If I didn't explain, people might start whispering behind our backs. I don't care what others say. But my child can't be wronged. We divorced 3 years ago. My child is only 2. There's no way it's yours, I answered flatly, speaking without much care. The hopeful look on Ethan's face froze the moment I finished. Oh, how is that possible? You said you'd be good and wait for me. Zoe sounded as if she'd heard something hilarious, unable to contain herself. See, Ethan, I told you she's no good. There's no way she'd patiently wait for you to ask for a remarriage. Now look, she's even had a child with someone else. Shut up. The smile vanished completely from Ethan's face. His eyes were full of helpless grievance. With red eyes, he grabbed my hand, trembling as he asked, Summer, this isn't true, is it? You said you would wait for me. I had said it, but it was out of necessity. For a long time, I had longed for the day my mother would be lucid. I hoped she could, like other mothers, learn to love me. After Ethan and I divorced, the thing she said to me most often was, Has your son-in-law come to see you? Did he tell you when he's going to remarry you? Don't be a useless lump at home. Go make yourself noticed in front of him or he'll really forget you exist. Let's see what you do then. At the time, I asked her, in your view, can't one live without a man? I believed that by myself I could give her a happy life. She was never satisfied. She looked at me speechless and snapped back. A man is what makes a home complete. If you lot hadn't gotten your father put away, would I be shamed into being called a living widow? Only then did I realize she had been blaming me all along. Blaming me for not signing the settlement, for insisting that my father be locked up. It was because of her words that I snapped awake. Whether family ties or love, I decided, what I cannot have, I will let go of. Ethan, seeing my silence, broke down and screamed hysterically. Say something. When I brought Zoe home, you didn't object to her being there, did you? You clearly promised. Why go back on your word? Or is this your way of getting back at me? I didn't mind. The first time I discovered Ethan flirting with someone else on his phone, I cried and made a scene. I couldn't understand why someone who had said they loved me yesterday could today so single-mindedly be arranging where to book a room with someone else. That time I lost my mind and smashed everything in the living room. I thought I had expressed my displeasure forcefully, that it would make him feel guilty and remorseful. But when he looked at me, there was impatience and disgust, as if he were looking at a crazy woman making a scene on the street. He asked me, Summer, are you done? I responded hysterically, no. Before long, he called my mother and told her to come and talk me down. My mother rushed over at the sound of it, saw me trembling in place like a lunatic, came up without a word, and slapped me. He snapped, Summer, are you crazy? Are you even going to live like this? When he was young, he only made the mistake every man might make. What's unforgivable about that? Why do you keep clinging on? Watching those two in cahoots, I felt my face burn with a hot sting. My breaking emotions gradually cooled. I said to him, we're getting divorced. Ethan hadn't said anything yet when my mother began slapping herself in a self-destructive display. Between sobs, she shouted, if you dare divorce him, I'll kill myself to show you. He knew that no matter what happened, my mother would take his side. Whenever something like this recurred, he'd always pull her in to press me down. Even the day he brought Zoe home, he had called my mother, terrified I might make a scene again. So now, faced with his questioning, I tilted my head slightly and asked, don't you already know why I agreed? Ethan was left speechless by my words. Guilt flickered through his agonized eyes. Summer, I did this only because I don't want to really be apart from you. He pleaded desperately, defending himself. If Mom hadn't come to our house that day, would you have talked to me properly? In that situation, we'd only hurt each other, unknowingly destroying what we have. Ridiculous. Ethan, don't you think what you're saying is absurd? Summer, really? I hadn't finished speaking when my phone suddenly rang. It was the housekeeper calling. She said the child was awake and crying for his mother. Hearing the crying on the other end, my heart tightened, and I urgently wanted to go home. My child is awake. I don't have time to listen to your excuses. Ethan, let's leave it at that. Don't come looking for me. Saying that, I left without looking back. Ethan tried to follow, but Zoe stopped him in time. She shouted angrily, "She already has a child, a family. Are you still fantasizing that she'll abandon them to be with you? Ethan, don't be so naive." I didn't hear what was said next. My heart and thoughts were full of only one thing, the child waiting for me at home. Night. I finished washing up and lay in bed, telling the baby a bedtime story. Zoe inexplicably sent me a video of her children. A bad feeling rose in my chest. I opened it instinctively. 2 children in thin clothing were kneeling at the doorstep, crying and pleading. "Auntie, please don't take my daddy away. Both Mom and I need daddy." "Yeah, Auntie, please don't look for my daddy anymore. My brother and I can't be without a dad." They cried and knelt, banging their heads on the ground until faint bruises showed on their foreheads. Seeing this, my heart suddenly tightened. Zoe had done this for one simple reason, to provoke my empathy as a fellow mother. But a child is not a tool for her to buy for favor. Besides, I had long since given up on Ethan. I had absolutely no intention of remarrying him. Just as I was pondering what to do, Zoe sent me another message. She said, "Miss Summer, you're a mother yourself. You should know how to make choices for your child. If you want your child to carry the stigma of being the other woman's child, you can pretend you didn't see my message." Her words were an unabashed threat. I couldn't help but laugh with anger. I took the video and messages she had sent, screenshot them, and sent them to Ethan. I wrote, "Take care of your wife and child. I don't want to see this happen again." Ethan replied quickly. He sounded a little urgent and sent a voice message. "I'm sorry, Summer. I didn't expect she would send you those messages. I'll handle it. Don't worry about it. Summer, Mom told me that your child was conceived through IVF, that they don't have a father. I'm willing to take on the responsibility of being a father to take care of you both. I hope you'll seriously consider it and give me a chance to make amends." Hearing the voice message he sent, my hands trembled with anger. I had explicitly told my mother not to meddle in things between us. I didn't expect she still wouldn't stop. I didn't reply to his message. Instead, I revoked my mother's memberships at venues all over town and froze all the bank cards she controlled. Of the money I earned investing over the past 3 years, I'll give her 1/3 just to make her quiet and let her live out her remaining years peacefully. But now that she refuses to live in peace, then she won't. After finishing that, I transferred half of my assets into the children's names. That agreement only takes effect after they reach adulthood. Consider it a safeguard I left for them. When my mother found out her bank card had been frozen, she came storming over, furious. "Summer, what do you mean by this? Do you not even want your mother anymore? I fed and raised you through everything. If I'd known, I never would have given birth to you." I listened to her accusations with an unmoved heart. I took out the pre-drafted letter of arrangement and the bank card. I told her, "If you sign this agreement, I'll give you 1 million. As I spoke, the fury on her face grew even stronger. Just as she was about to blow up, I continued, "Or you can sue me. I'll pay you a legally mandated monthly allowance. Beyond that, I won't give you another cent, and I will no longer be responsible for your living expenses." When she heard that, my mother froze where she stood. She hadn't expected that one day I would be so resolute. She trembled as she asked, "Summer, are you serious? Do you really not want your mother anymore?" I kept my expression cold, no longer sparing her any dignity, and retorted, "Do you want me anymore? When you belittled me in front of Ethan, did you ever think of me as your daughter? When you despised my children and wanted to send them away, did you ever think of them as your grandchildren? She could show special tolerance for the child her mistress had borne. Yet she couldn't even manage a smile for my children. My words left her speechless. For a long time, she couldn't form a coherent sentence. Sign it. 1 million. That will be enough for you to get by. No, Summer. Everything is negotiable. I'm your own mother who gave birth to you. You can't treat me like this. I know I was wrong. I won't be meddling anymore. I won't pry into your private affairs, child. I'll help take care of the child. I had heard these words more than once. I shook my head. Mom, you only have 2 choices. In the end, she had to choose between living the rest of her life in poverty or living it in comfort. She chose the latter. When she left with the money, tears welled in the corners of her eyes. Trembling, she said, Summer, it's not that your mother is insisting on your money. I just need to secure my future. If you ever need me, remember to come to your mother. I'll do what I can. In the end, she still liked painting grand dreams for me. Saying things that were totally unrealistic, I didn't pay any attention. I pushed it straight out of my mind. When Ethan learned about it, he understood he no longer had any backing to rely on. He quietly bought some diapers and formula for children and came to my door. Seeing him arrive laden with big bags and small packages, I couldn't help frowning. What are you doing here, Summer? I've never met your child. These are the kinds our kids often use at home. I don't know if they'll suit yours. Take a look. If they're not right, I'll go buy others. He hurriedly explained the things in his hands, and fearing I might refuse, he added, These are for the child, just a little token from me. Even if you don't want them, please consider the child. My child needs nothing from you. I'll buy what she needs myself. Take your things and go. My voice was calm but distant. Ethan, however, acted as if he hadn't heard and presented a roughly wrapped paper bag like a gift. He went on to say to himself, This is the mung bean cake you loved in high school. After all these years, the owner hasn't changed, and the taste is the same. Try some. The owner who sold the mung bean cakes hadn't changed, and the cake still tasted the same. But we had long since changed. I didn't take the bag. I looked at him coolly and said, You know, I signed a severance letter with my mom, right? If I could abandon my own mother, who is closer to me than blood, why on earth would I need you? Hope was something he had given me. He was also the one who brought me despair. By what right did he think he could so easily win my forgiveness? After saying that, a mean little thought crept into my mind. I continued, Last time you told me there was something wrong with my body, that I couldn't have children, but I was abroad and I got pregnant with just 1 round of IVF. Guess why, Ethan? Could it be that your precious child is the retribution for you betraying our marriage, for betraying me? I've never claimed to be a good person. The first time I discovered his affair, I had a vicious thought, that he would get what he deserved, that everything he wished for would forever come to nothing. 1 sentence from me snapped Ethan awake. He stared at me in disbelief, took a step back, and muttered, Impossible. What you're saying isn't true. Those 2 children should be mine. If you don't believe me, you can go get tested. See if you have a problem. Those were my last words. I didn't give him another glance. I shut the door on him without mercy. It wasn't long before news came that Ethan had taken the 2 children to the hospital for genetic testing. The results showed they truly had no blood relation. Ethan, like a madman, came after Zoe to settle accounts. Zoe, upon learning this, originally planned to run, but Ethan's men restrained her in time. At that moment, Ethan, full of murderous rage, entered the room where Zoe was being held, clutching the test report. You filthy woman, what do you have to explain? He threw the report in her face in fury. Seeing there was no escape, Zoe gave up and with a defiant smirk, laughed at him. Explain? What do I need to explain? From start to finish, I only told you I was pregnant. I never said the children were yours. You made that assumption yourself. What does that have to do with me? Ethan exuded a dark, cruel aura and tightened his grip on her throat, grinding his teeth as he snarled. If you hadn't crawled into my bed and then brought me the ultrasound, how could I have ever thought that bastard was mine? The thought that he divorced me for a person like that ignited an uncontrollable rage inside me. My hand pressed down harder and harder. Zoe's lips quickly turned deathly pale. Her extreme difficulty breathing made her face take on a sallow iron blue tint. The two children, hearing the commotion from the room, both ran over. Seeing the scene before them, they ran up crying and tried to push Ethan away. "Daddy, let go of Mommy. Don't hit Mommy." In the past, Ethan had granted their every wish. He treated them as if they were the precious children he'd fought so hard to have. Who could have imagined that of the children he doted on for 3 years, not a single one was his biological child? "Get out of my sight." His eyes bloodshot, he mercilessly kicked the two children kneeling and sobbing on the ground. "You two bastards don't deserve to call me Dad." Zoe watched the children he had kicked to the side, their painful whimpers filling her with heartache. "Ethan, if you're angry at me, fine. But you mustn't hurt my children." As she spoke, she turned to her daughter trembling in the corner and called, "Lily, call Daddy Liam. Tell him Ethan has gone mad. He's going to kill us." Hearing that, a ridiculous thought flickered through Ethan's mind. He trembled as he asked, "Those two bastards, are they Liam's?" Liam was his best brother. Since he returned to the company to take up his post, he had taken Liam on as his assistant. He never expected something so absurd to happen. "So, and what of it? You were always a damaged man, and you expect me to keep myself pure for you? In your dreams." That night, Ethan went mad. No one in the house escaped it, including Liam, who had rushed over after getting the call. When the police arrived in response to his call confessing to the crime, Ethan was covered in blood, sitting disheveled on the doorstep as they questioned him. His voice, he said, "Wait for my lawyer to get here. I'll go with you. I just need a few more minutes." A few days later, a stranger lawyer came to the door. He said, "Mr. Ethan, on the day he turned himself in, he drew up a contract transferring shares. He gave you everything he owned. He said it was what he owed you. He also asked me to tell you he was sorry." Ethan's conduct was vile. Once he was in, there was no chance he'd come out again. The agreement he had drawn up was not merely a share transfer contract, it was also a will. I took the agreement and thanked the lawyer. When I turned my head, not far off, in the stroller in front of the nanny, the two little ones were smiling sweetly at me. It felt as if a beautiful life was beckoning to me. I folded the contract, smiled faintly, and walked toward them. "Babies, let's go. It's time to go home."